and an aglio olio. So at the end, we're actually so that we make one meal, we're going to make a little bit of blush, and then we'll have blush pasta. So I need 3 pans. I need 1 to 3 pots of boiling water. I only have 2 on because I'm going to use 2 kinds of pasta tonight. Spoons and a colander. So here's our recipes. I know they're a little bit loose. So for the red sauce, you're going to need garlic and onion, pesto, or fresh basil. I always have pesto in my freezer. You can buy it in a jar. You can use fresh basil, whatever your heart desires. We don't measure garlic. So I would just like a handful of garlic chopped. 1 onion, a jar of passata. Passata is a strained, crushed, cooked tomato product that you can find in the grocery store, or maybe your mother-in-law makes it, or your mother. Alfredo, we're going to use 35% cream and parm and a little bit of butter. You can also add pesto there as well. If you don't have to. I like to. Garlic, salt and pepper. And then we're going to make aglio olio, which is garlic and oil. So we're going to use lots and lots and lots of garlic there. We're going to use red pepper flakes. We're going to use Parmesan cheese or a little bit of nooch if you're vegan. Nooch is nutritional yeast. Let me just grab mine. Where are you? And it kind of looks like cheese. As soon as I get back on camera, I'll show you what it looks like. It kind of smells like cheese, and if you use it in combination with other things, it'll give you that like cheesy kind of flavor. And a little bit of butter, so it's not actually vegan. All right. All right, we're back. Okay, so this is nooch. It just kind of looks like dried cheese. I don't know if you can see it there. It's flaky and it's kind of delicious, but we'll save that for another day. So I am just chopping garlic. I have a pan on my stove over here that you can see. Yes, I think.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put like a half of my onion in here with some olive oil. And I'm using a decent quality olive oil. Anytime you're heating olive oil, I feel like you don't need the same one. Love it. I feel like you don't need the best quality olive oil if you're heating it, because as soon as you heat it, you kill all of the. Sorry, you cook off all of the like olive solids, and it changes the flavor anyways. So we're gonna give a good amount in here. And our aim with this pan is to get it nice and hot. So I'm going to chop my garlic. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to give my garlic a chop. If you're chopping lots and lots and lots of garlic and you have 2 knives that are the same shape, you could put them together to chop if you'd like. Just a little trick if you want to wash 2 knives, I guess. So as with pretty much everything that I cook, I have a nice heavy bottom pan on my stove, just so that the heat is evenly distributed. Okay, I'm going to put about 1/3 of my garlic into here. I'm just going to wash my hands because they're a little bit sticky from the garlic.
So we should put our onions and the garlic in the pan of oil?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have mine on the stove here, garlic, onion. It's just starting to get a little warm. And we're going to get that up. We're going to cook off the onions, sweat off the onions, and then we're going to get it up nice and hot. And the whole goal here, you're trying to get the pan nice and hot so that you'll burn the acid out of the tomatoes. And that's what makes it
your temp at for your...
I have mine at like 5.
Okay.
I am also going to salt my pans or my pots of water. You want to salt them so that they taste like the Mediterranean. And if you've never been there, that's sad. But It's just a really good salty pot of water.
Easy with the salt.
Okay, so then, while I am waiting for my pot to come up, I'm gonna pick myself a pan to make Alfredo in, and I'm just gonna make a little bit. So I like to start the Alfredo with a little bit of butter. And I'm always keeping an eye on my other pan. I have 35% cream. Just opening it up so that I'm ready to go. I'm going to put just a little bit of garlic in my pan for my Alfredo. And I'm going to put that on like medium, just to let it, and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in it as well. Just a little touch. And the reason that we mix fats,
How much butter do we put in that Alfredo? Does it matter?
so I put about a tablespoon or so.
Okay.
And I put the extra olive oil in it as well because it changes the smoking temperature of the fat.
So it doesn't burn.
Doesn't burn, absolutely.
As
Well, I mean,
easy-
you could still burn it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely possible to still burn it.
Could you repeat that? What changes the smoking temperature?
If you add another squirt of fat. So I added just a little tiny bit of olive oil into my butter pan for my Alfredo, and it changes the smoking temperature of the fat. I'm also, okay, it's worth it to mention that I'm also using the clarified butter from last week. So that also smoking temperature.
Oh my God, that leftover stuff was really good on popcorn. You were right, 100%.
Oh my goodness, fantastic. Okay, so my pan here is coming up just about there. This is the passata that I'm using. It's an Aurora brand. You don't have to use that brand. There's all sorts of brands out there. It's just, it's a nice smooth sauce. And if you decided that you wanted to use something with chunks in it, you could. So like a diced tomato or a whole tomato even. But this is like a fast dinner for like, we're home and we're hungry, let's eat.
So this passata was new to me, and I got a primo passata.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. I things.
Yeah, no, and it's really nice because the sauce, if you have any picky eaters in your life, the sauce will come out nice and smooth. Okay, so you can see my onions are starting to come up with a little bit of color. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the heat cranked up good and high, and I'm gonna move all the onions aside, because what I want is a good hot frying pan. And you want just a little bit of brown. I don't know if you guys can actually see that. You want just a little bit of brown, not too much. And then start heating your pan good and hot. Okay. So mine's looking pretty warm. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your passata and you're gonna add it kind of in the corners, and you should hear it sizzle. I hear it. Whoever's doing that is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think that's mine.
Fantastic. So I'm gonna add it, and then I'm just gonna kind of move the onions over so that the other side of the pan's nice and hot. And I'm gonna put the rest on the other side. And I'm just going to leave the heat up on it so that it comes up to a nice boil, nice and fast. I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of water to clean my jar out, because my Nona would be really mad if I wasted all of that.
We don't want Nona to be unhappy now, do we?
No. So I'm just giving mine a quick stir to incorporate the water and the sauce. Now, in the meantime, over here on your other burner, your Alfredo should be just about coming up to a little bit of a sizzle. I still have just a little bit of whole butter in mine. So at that point, I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of 35% cream to mine, because I feel like that garlic looks pretty good. So you don't want the garlic brown, but you want it to be nice and sizzly. There we go. I'm going to add the cream. And because this is 35% cream, it'll thicken on its own. And it'll thicken when we put in a little bit of pasta, for sure. So we're going to let that come up to temperature. I am going to chop some basil for in there. Going to have it ready on my cutting board. It smells so fantastic. All right, so I'm going to cut my basil into a chiffonade, which means that it's like little strips of basil. So I'm just going to layer it on top of each other, just like this. And then I'm going to give it a roll. What do I have here? So once your red sauce comes up to a really good simmer and starts sticking to the bottom, just a little bit, you're going to want to turn it down. And I'm turning mine down to about 4, which is like halfway on my stove. I'm going to roll my basil up. And I'm going to slice it nice and fine. And then, as you can see, it's little strips of beautiful fine basil. So I'm going to leave that on my cutting board right now. I'm going to tend to my stove a little bit. So my red sauce, I'm going to move my camera just a little bit over here. All right, so my red sauce has just a little simmer to it. You're going to want to put a little bit of salt in it, some pepper. And you're going to look over, and your Alfredo's coming up to a little bit of a simmer here. If you don't watch it pretty closely, it will go over. It grows and bubbles, and it'll like go over on you. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to crank up my heat for my pastas. They're already up. Ooh, what are we doing? There we go. Okay. Now, you're going to want to give your red sauce a little bit of a taste and adjust your salt. I'm going to throw my pesto in there. I am going to find myself a whisk or a fork. It's up to you. And I'm gonna add a little bit of cheese into my Alfredo to help with the process of thickening. There's no risk of it. Yes, Parmesan. It's up to you. If you like the flavor of both together, you could do that. I'm a big fan of Asiago, and that's why I suggested it. But that's really up to you. You could do either. You could do both. All right. I'm gonna add just a little bit more here. Give it a little whisk. Okay. Now, so I got red going, I got white going, and I'm gonna grab a pan, another pan. And the reason that we're doing aglio olio today is because it's my absolute favorite. It's the simplest meal. Maybe you don't have enough burners, but I'm gonna put mine in the middle burner there. You're gonna have to really watch your Alfredo. And I'm going to turn mine way down. And it's gonna come and it'll get a little bit thicker. You're gonna wanna put a little bit of pepper in it. If your heart desires pesto or basil in it, I think now is a good time. I really like pepper in mine. Be careful with the salt, just because you're adding cheese to it, so you don't want to add too much cheese or salt. And put. If you're a fan of, who makes it? Franzizi's used to make it. The boys at Arturo's make it now. If you're a fan of pasta gorgonzola, this is the same process. Just cook down a little bit of blue cheese or gorgonzola cheese in your Alfredo, and it'll make you a gorgonzola sauce.
So the pesto, do we put the pesto in?
I didn't have enough pesto. I put fresh basil in mine, so you can put pesto in it, absolutely. So mine looks like this now.
Both sauces or just the one?
I put it in both. I put pesto in my red, and I put basil in my white.
And how much would you put in?
I put about 2 tablespoons in my red. But of course, that's like a matter of give it a taste. If it feels like it's enough for you, then that's enough. You can add a little bit more if that's what you prefer.
And same with the Alfredo?
Same with the Alfredo. So I put about a big heaping tablespoon of chiffonade basil in mine. So, aglio olio. So you have everything going on your stove. Aglio olio, you're going to fill your pan with a little bit of oil there. I'm going to put the rest of my garlic because I really like garlic. How much oil? I have about 1/4 cup in this pan. You could also put, this is my favorite thing, red pepper. And you're going to want to put it right in the pan. Just remember when you add red pepper to anything, as soon as you put heat to it in oil, it's going to extract all of the heat. So maybe you're going to want to not put a whole lot. I had suggested that maybe you brought pepper rings. I would put those a little bit closer to the end. So
that's a good tip on the red pepper.
Yeah, it'll release all of its heat into the oil, and it'll seem a lot hotter than if you were to just put it on top of your pasta. So I tasted my red. Needs just a little bit more salt. And I'm actually going to pull my, I'm going to give it another minute, and I'm going to pull it off. And I'm going to turn off my aglio olio for just a minute because what I want to do is get my red off the stove and get pasta cooking so that I can add pasta to all of these at the same time.
Now, do we do anything with the broccoli and the peppers you suggested?
You can give them a quick flash fry and throw them right in. I have frozen spinach that I'm gonna add into my Alfredo, but I'll add it just a little bit later. And it's just a matter of you can change this meal to fit your dietary needs for the evening. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of meat, you could or fiber or protein, you could add a can of beans. You could like chickpeas or that sort of thing. You could do anything. This is a base to go forward and make anything your heart desires, essentially. So
now's
my reds. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now's the time to throw in the pasta.
Yes, I'm actually gonna pull my red off so that I have space to put my pasta on a hotter burner. Just playing a little bit of fire drill here with my pans. Okay. So I have two different kinds of pasta here today. Well, I have three, but I'm going to use two. Sorry. I bought a tricolore capellini spaghetti. Sorry. I'm going to use this in my aglio olio. I think it'll be very pretty. If you were the fan of shrimp or anything like that, a good time to put a good place to put shrimp is right into your aglio olio. And I bought these fiorelli. They're kind of like penne. They're just kind of twisted up. I think those would be really good in the white and the red. And my little guy likes shells. So I figured that was kind of close for him.
Sandra,
So if yes,
the pasta water in our red sauce at all?
I do not. You
Okay.
could. I feel like the places that's the best is where you need to create more sauce, or if the things in your pans aren't that saucy. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna like with if you are making pasta fagioli, you're gonna add a little bit of the water from the pasta into it to help to thicken it. You could do that with our Alfredo, but because we have 35% cream, it should thicken with just the pasta and the cream pretty well. So I have water boiling over here. I'm going to go ahead and put these fiorelli in here. If I can get it open without making a mess.
Karen, Sandra,
Yes.
I went with 17% cream.
Okay.
I just have to boil it a little longer?
So what I would do in that case is I would make a roux, and we can go through how to do that. So what I would do is to your, did you already put your cream in your pan?
Yes.
Okay, not a problem. So take a little bit of the butter from last week and mix it even amounts, butter and flour. So like a tablespoon and maybe a tablespoon. Once your cream comes up to a nice boil, add your beurre meunier is what it's called. it's flour and butter, and it's equally distributed fat. And what it'll do is it'll distribute it through your sauce and help thicken.
So, well, like a couple tablespoons type thing?
I would do like 1 and 1.
1 tablespoon or more, okay.
Yeah. So I have my pot's coming up to boil here for my pasta, my long pasta. So I'm gonna put that in, and yes, I have not turned on my aglio olio pan yet. And I will tell you when I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give it a minute. What I wanna do is I want the pasta about half cooked before I put it into the pan with the aglio olio, because I don't wanna burn my garlic and then have my aglio olio bitter. I need another spoon here. Okay. So when you're cooking pasta, you want to make sure that you have a lot of water. That's a pretty key. And that it's salted really well. A nice rolling boil before you put any pasta in. And those are pretty much the rules of pasta making. I like to make sure that I have a busy household, so I have to make sure that I have an empty sink so that when I'm ready to strain my pasta, it's ready to go. I also like to make sure that there's not children around when I'm trying to carry hot pots of water. So those are my tips for my house. I'm going to put a little bit of... All right, so in my aglio olio, I have garlic, oil, I have the red pepper. I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I'm just going to leave that. As you can see, I have my Alfredos bubbling away back here. Nice and starting to thicken up just a little bit. It'll thicken more once we put some pasta into it. And my red is back here on the counter, and it should taste pretty good. I gave it a little taste. I adjusted the seasoning on it, the salt. And other than that, we are waiting on pasta. So I have these fiorelli. You can look at the directions on the box for any pasta. It's going to tell you how long that it'll take. How long does this one say? This one says 8 to 10 minutes or until al dente. So what al dente means is to the tooth. When you give it a bite to taste it, to see if it's ready, what it is you're still going to feel a little bit right on the inside of the pasta. And if you were to bite it and take it out of your mouth and kind of look at it, like bite a piece off and look at it, what you're going to see is a dot or a line in the middle of the pasta to tell you that there's still a little bit of uncooked is what it would be inside the pasta. I don't know if I'll be able to show you that because that's going to be a little difficult to show, but I will try. I might have too small of a pot for my long noodles here. All right, how's everybody doing? Fantastic.
I'm doing great. Just a little busy at the moment, managing all the
Excellent.
things.
Teach you guys to cook on a hot line. How many more pans can you handle? Who wants a job?
How much do you pay?
Probably not as much as you're making. If you like long work hours and hot kitchens, come and see me. I'll be at the machine shop back in January. All right. My fiorelli are looking pretty nice. I like to give them a little stir every once in a while just to make sure that they're not sticking to the bottom. Anybody that tells you to put oil in your pasta water is joking. Don't listen to them. You don't need it. Save your oil, put it on top of your pasta when you're done. All right. So my fiorelli say 8 to 10 minutes, and I think my capellinis are probably going to be about 6. Oh, these ones say 8 to 10 as well. All right.
Can you put your peppers in the aglio now?
Yes, you could, yeah. So my whole concept for not putting them in right away is when you crank up your heat, I don't want to have any burn on the like any browning on your peppers.
I see.
Just because I feel like especially with the ones from the jar, like the banana peppers from the jar, they're not really as good and they're not going to brown for you because they're like pickly, right?
Great. Okay, gotcha.
So, and depending on how much you like heat, that's when you want to add your pepper. So if you're looking for a lot of heat, I would add it closer to the beginning. If you're looking for not as much heat, and I mean, you can adjust that according to the amount of pepper that you put as well, right? But it just depends on the heat of the pepper itself. So with my red peppers, I know they're going to be nice and hot, so I didn't put very many, but I put them at the beginning because I want to extract that heat and have a good hot pasta, because there's not a whole lot else to it besides the garlic flavor and the heat. So my Alfredo is getting pretty thick here. I'm just going to turn it right down to low. And I think that as soon as my pasta is, I don't know if can you see my pasta there? It kind of holds its like shape. Once it like loosens up and relaxes and it's easy to stir, I'm going to turn my my pot on with my garlic, my pan with my garlic, excuse me. Not quite. My fiorelli need another minute or two. Another thing, so on the topic of food safety, I have quite a few spoons here because we have quite a few things going on. That being said, if you were cooking just a red sauce and pasta, I mean, to save dishes in the evenings, because I know that when you get home from work, you don't always want to cook and then do dishes, I would use the same spoon to stir the pasta and then also to stir my sauce. That's just a little bit of laziness, I think. But I mean, there's no food issue there with safety and cross-contamination. There's not really any issue with cross-contamination with anything here, unless you had, say, an allergy in the household or that sort of thing. So feel free to cross-utilize your spoons and don't do as many dishes. That's something that you're concerned about, depending on who's doing the dishes. My little one's not big enough to do them yet, so I'll save on dishes. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on anything? Actually, yeah,
so
go ahead.
My pasta's done.
Okay, which one?
The pasta that I cooked is done.
Okay.
Do I just, and you said to throw it into the aglio? I can't even say it. Aglio?
Sorry, yes. So you're going to turn your aglio on. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Let's do this together. I'm going to bring mine up because I want the garlic to be nice and cooked before I put the pasta in. By the time I get there, I should be good. I'm going to have to move my camera just a little bit, though, so that I can get to the sink. So I apologize. All right. I'm going to give my aglio olio just a minute to come up to heat. I have about another minute or two on my pasta that's going into my aglio olio. And I'm probably pretty close on my fiorelli that's going into my white and my red. Oh, yeah. And don't be ashamed to taste it to make sure that it's good. Don't burn yourself. Can't really see it in these ones. They're very thin. So I'm going to go ahead and strain my fiorelli. And I'm going to bring them back just in my pan. In the pot that I drained them in. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with them. In the meantime, I got oil cooking. Okay, so I have, so you can see my aglio olio is coming up. Starting to sizzle. What I'm going to do to it is while I'm waiting, because where did my spoon go? There it is. Just about there on my pasta for my aglio olio. Actually, it's pretty good. You're going to see your aglio olio is going to start to brown around the edges very first. What I'm going to do, as soon as it's got a nice even brown across the whole thing, because you don't want to overcook it, is I'm going to add some butter, and that's going to, same with adding it to our Alfredo, it's going to stop the cooking process, and I'm going to turn mine off. But if you have your pasta ready, put your butter in, give it a really good swirl so that it starts to melt, and then add your pasta. And you'll be able to smell it. Oh, it smells fantastic. I'm just going to drain my pasta here. With another strainer. Okay, so here I am back with my beautiful strained pasta. I'm going to put it right into the aglio olio. I like to turn the heat back on and give it a toss. Let me just get rid of this. And at this point, with the aglio olio, you don't have to do this, but I like to add a little bit of cheese. So in there, you're going to be able to see the cheese melting. I don't know if you can see that. You're going to see the pepper, and you're going to hear it giving a little sizzle. That's the easiest pasta dish in the whole world.
Add your broccoli or whatever?
Yep, absolutely. So I am going to put spinach into my Alfredo now that it's thickened up. I'm going to turn my aglio olio totally off. I'm going to bring this up. I put my Alfredo back on my good hot burner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a good amount of this pasta that I have here. You're going to see this is going to thicken really, really well with the pasta in it. So give it a good toss. Now I'm going to throw it on my back burner. I'm going to put my red back on. Oh, shit. And I'm going to pour the rest of my pasta into my red sauce. Give it a good stir. So now, what you could do here, if you felt a little, I guess, frisky, is add a little bit of the red to the white, and you would have a nice blush. You could do that beforehand, before adding your pasta. But I wanted to make sure that I showed that we had 3 nice different pastas here. Give me just a second here. So what I have here is a really gorgeous aglio olio. Let me see here. All right. So I have a really beautiful aglio olio here. I have a white. And your red is going to be to die for. So, able to see those, all 3? There we go. All right. What I like to do to finish them is give them a little bit of cheese. I'm going to garnish them with a little bit of basil. I'm going to put basil on this one. I'm going to put a little bit of chiffonade basil on the aglio olio. And then I'm going to get a really good olive oil. And I'm going to finish all of my pastas with a little bit of olive oil. And the reason that we use fresh olive oil is because when we cook our oil, it cooks all of the flavors out of it. So there we go. 3 pastas. We've done it all in less than an hour. Everyone here was successful, I think. How's everybody doing? So I have one.
Great.
One here. Looks great, Rick. One here.
Yeah.
One here.
Look at you. That's awesome. I just did 2 today.
Fantastic.
I did the aioli. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to get it.
Well, that looks fantastic with the peppers in it. Oh,
Yeah, and I like that added little touch of the olive oil at the end. That was
absolutely. Good. Very important. That I think that's the difference between a good cook and a great cook is when you know how to use your ingredients at the very end. There's a reason that you add things like olive oil at the very end. And it's all just to up the flavor, right?
Yeah. And I got a little bit of red sauce here too.
Fantastic. Let's see it. Awesome. Well, that looks great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned so many new things. It's great. It's always good to pick up little tips. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Very glad to hear. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you. That's great.
Awesome. Randy, how'd your beurre meunier work?
Yeah, my Alfredo's like the best I think I've ever tasted.
Oh, fantastic. A lot of people like to add a little bit of nutmeg to their Alfredo as well. It brings out the flavor for sure in the cream.
And,
I didn't today. I was trying to keep it simple.
everything looks good. Now I just gotta let the family dish out what they want and.
Fantastic. All right. Well, enjoy. Have a very good dinner. Bon appetit.
Thank you very much.
We already started eating over here and it tastes really good.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Sandra.
Yeah.
Very welcome.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're very welcome, John.
Yeah.
Cent'anni.
Gentani.
All right. Thanks very much. If you have any questions, I'm always available. Shoot me an email. All right. Is there anybody left? Did I miss everybody? What does everybody want to cook next week?
I just want to be told what to cook. That's all.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I can do that for sure. Are you sure you don't want a job? Because I can definitely do that.
I kind of like, I'm doing this and I'm not the typical cook, so it's nice to be told.